Come here a minute, pull your chair right up close, pour yourself a hot cup of coffee or tea, whatever feels good tonight, and let me tell you about the phone call that broke my heart clean in two. It was the first Wednesday in September 2024. I was out back in the garden, barefoot in the cool grass, trimming the last of the summer flowers before the frost came. The sky was that perfect Wisconsin gold turning slow to pink over the cornfields, and I remember standing there thinking how peaceful everything finally felt. Only 10 more days until the wedding I had spent 3 whole years paying for, planning, and dreaming about. My phone buzzed in the pocket of my old denim shirt. I smiled when I saw my son's name light up the screen. My Daniel, my only child, my whole world. I answered with a laugh in my voice. Hey, honey, everything all right? You're not calling to tell me the band canceled, are you? There was a long, heavy silence, long enough that I pulled the phone away from my ear to check if the call had dropped. Then a voice that was not Daniel's came through the line, sweet as sugar, cold as ice. Oh, Auntie Rose, did Daniel tell you? We actually got married last Saturday. It was only the people closest to us. That was the moment the garden clippers slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the patio bricks. That was the moment the sunset stopped looking beautiful and started looking like blood across the sky. That was the moment I dropped to my knees right there in the grass and stayed there until the stars came out and the mosquitoes found me. Grab your coffee, your tissues, maybe that little piece of chocolate you've been saving for a bad day, because tonight I'm taking you all the way back to the very first dollar I ever gave them. And all the way forward to the day I walked into that Wisconsin courtroom wearing the soft sage green mother of the groom dress with the tag still hanging from the zipper and finally took my life back. This is the whole story, every bank transfer, every tear, every screenshot, every single word the judge said that's now printed on coffee mugs and t-shirts across the country. Exactly as it happened. My name is Rose Ann Thompson. Most people just call me Auntie Rose now, and I love it, because every single one of you watching tonight already feels like family to me. I turned 69 this past June, and I live in a little yellow craftsman cottage on the edge of a small town in southern Wisconsin, white picket fence, wrap around porch with the swing that creaks just right, and a backyard so full of flowers the neighbors call it my little piece of heaven. Only now it really is heaven, because every bloom back there was planted the year I learned my only child had chosen money over his own mother. Let's start at the very beginning, when Daniel was still my little boy with grass-stained knees and the bluest eyes you've ever seen. Daniel James Thompson was born on March 12, 1994, at St. Mary's Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. 8 pounds, 2 ounces, a tuft of blonde hair that stuck straight up, and those eyes, bright blue, just like his daddy's. The nurses nicknamed him Blue because he stared at everyone like he was trying to memorize their souls from the very first minute. His father, Michael, walked out on a Tuesday morning in 1997 with nothing but a duffel bag and a note propped against the sugar bowl that said, "I'm sorry, Rose, I can't do this." I found it while Daniel was sitting in his high chair eating Cheerios and asking, "Where'd Daddy go?" I didn't cry that day. I couldn't. My little boy needed me to be the strong one. So I wiped my hands on the dish towel, scooped him up, kissed those big blue eyes, and told him, "It's just you and Mom now, buddy. And we're going to be the best team this town has ever seen." And we were. I worked 3 jobs for the next 17 years. Lunch lady at Jefferson Elementary from 6:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. That's where the kids started calling me Auntie Rose. Night cleaner at the hospital from 4 till midnight. Weekend cashier at the Piggly Wiggly on Highway 14. Every single paycheck, every overtime hour, every Christmas bonus went straight into a savings account at the credit union labeled Daniel's Future in my neatest handwriting. He never went without. Best Little League uniform, PlayStation 2, the Christmas it came out, braces that cost me 6 grand and 3 years of overtime, private trumpet lessons because he wanted to be in jazz band. When he was 16 and wanted to go to homecoming, I worked a double shift so he could rent the navy tux with the silver vest that made him look like a movie star. Senior year, he got accepted to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I still have the acceptance letter folded in my top drawer. I sold the 1972 Mustang my dad had left me to pay the first year's tuition and dorm. The day we moved him into Celery Hall, he hugged me so tight in the parking lot I could feel his heart racing against mine. He looked at me with those blue eyes and said, "Mom, one day I'm going to buy you a big house with a porch swing and a garden so big you'll never have to work another day in your life." I believed him with every cell in my body. He graduated in May 2016 with a marketing degree and a 3.8 GPA. I sat in the Kohl Center in my very best navy dress from Macy's, clutching a bouquet of grocery store flowers, crying so hard the woman next to me handed me a whole pack of tissues. After the ceremony, he lifted me clean off the ground in a hug and whispered, "This is just the beginning, Mom. I'm going to make you so proud." He got a job at a big marketing firm in downtown Chicago, starting at $72,000 a year. I cried happy tears for a solid week. Then, in the fall of 2019, he called me from the city, voice shaking with excitement. "Mom, I met someone. Her name is Chloe. I really think she's the one." I drove to Chicago the very next weekend with a homemade apple pie still warm from the oven and a heart full of hope. Chloe opened the door of their 15th floor condo in a silk robe and Louboutins at 2 in the afternoon. She was 26, blonde, legs for days, worked in influencer relations for a luxury beauty brand. She looked at my pie, smiled that perfect influencer smile, and said, "That's so sweet, Auntie Rose, but I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free right now." I laughed it off. Love makes us blind, doesn't it? They got engaged on Valentine's Day 2021. Daniel FaceTimed me from the rooftop of the Drake Hotel, got down on one knee in the snow, and Chloe screamed, "Yes!" so loud my phone speaker crackled. I cried happy tears for 3 straight days. That's when the money requests began. The first one came in March 2021. Daniel called and said, "Mom, the condo we want in Lincoln Park just went on the market. It's perfect, but the down payment is $48,000. Chloe's parents are giving $20,000, but we're short. Could you help us just this once? After this, we'll be set." I had $28,400 in the house fund I'd been adding to since he was born. I sent $28,000 the same day. He promised it was the last time he'd ever ask. It wasn't. April 2021, Chloe's Range Rover needed new brakes and some cosmetic work. $4,812. June 2021, engagement party venue deposit at a rooftop in Chicago. $6,200. August 2021, the ring needed resizing and insurance. $2,100. Every time I hesitated, Daniel would say, "Mom, this is for our future family. You always said family comes first." By the time they started wedding planning in earnest, I had already given them $41,112, and I was only getting started. January 2022, they came home for a weekend and sat me down at my kitchen table, the same oak table my grandpa built back in 1978, and slid a glossy printed spreadsheet across the wood like it was the most normal thing in the world. Napa Valley Private Vineyard Estate. 200 guests flying in from all over the country. 12-piece string orchestra flown in from Los Angeles. Floral arches that cost more per square foot than my first house. 5-course dinner by a chef who'd been on Top Chef twice. Midnight fireworks over the vines. 17-night honeymoon in overwater bungalows in Bora Bora. Total budget printed in bold at the bottom, $184,000. Daniel looked at me with those same big blue eyes and started crying real tears, tears I hadn't seen since he was 8 years old and broke his wrist falling off his bike. "Mom, Chloe's parents are giving $60,000. That's literally everything they have in savings. We're still short 124,000. If we don't lock the venue by March 1st, we lose the date and the $18,000 deposit. This is the only weekend in 2024 that works for both families. Please, this is the day Chloe has dreamed about since she was 7 years old. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. $124,000. More money than I had ever seen in one place in my entire life. But I looked at my boy, 30 years old now, tears on his cheeks, and all I could see was the little boy who used to fall asleep on my chest after his daddy left. I told myself this was his way of giving me the big, beautiful family celebration I never got to have myself. I said yes. I refinanced the little yellow house that had been paid off since 2011. I cashed every CD, every savings bond, every mutual fund. I sold Grandma's china, set on eBay for $11,000. I took a part-time night job cleaning offices in town just to keep the new mortgage payments coming. Between February and August 2022, I transferred another $86,369.62. I kept a spiral notebook in the kitchen drawer right next to the silverware. Every single Venmo, every Zelle, every check, date, amount, and reason written in my neatest handwriting. By the end of that summer, the running total sat at $127,481.62. I still have that notebook. It sits on my desk in Tuscany now, spine cracked, pages soft from how many times I've opened it and cried. January 2023, I drove to David's Bridal in Madison for their big trunk show. I tried on 8 dresses and cried like a fool in the three-way mirror when I saw myself in the soft sage green one. Silk chiffon that moved like water, delicate cap sleeves with handmade lace, tiny seed pearls sewn along the neckline and waist. It fit me like it was sewn for my body alone. The tag said $899.99. With alterations, dyeing the shoes to match, and tax, it came to $1,180 exactly. I paid cash and told the sales girl, "This is for my only child's wedding. I want to look like the proudest mom in the world." She teared up and gave me a hug right there in the fitting room. I brought it home on a hanger draped in plastic and showed Chloe over FaceTime. She smiled that tight little smile I was starting to recognize and said, "Oh, Auntie Rose, it's lovely, but the wedding colors are sage and champagne now. Green is a little mature for the photos. Maybe we can find something that photographs better? The cameras add weight, you know." I laughed it off. I told myself she was just nervous. Then came the weight comments. First, they were casual, slipped into conversation like they were no big deal. We hired a really high-end photographer from LA, Auntie Rose. His lenses add about 15 pounds, just so you know. Then they became weekly FaceTime check-ins. Chloe would tilt the camera down at my face and say, "Have you thought about cutting carbs before the big day? We want everyone to look their absolute best in the photos." I was 66 years old. I had never weighed more than 148 pounds in my life, but I wanted my boy to be proud when he saw me walk into that vineyard. So I joined Weight Watchers the very next day. I gave up Culver's Fish Fry Fridays, my one treat after a long week. I walked 5 miles every single morning before my hospital shift, rain, snow, or shine. I drank nothing but water and black coffee for 5 straight months. I lost 28 pounds. My knees ached so bad I had to sleep with ice packs. My hair started falling out in the shower in big clumps, but I did it. In June 2023, Chloe sent me a Pinterest board titled Mother of the Groom Style Inspiration. Every single woman on it was under 50, blonde, and a size 2. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at that board until 3 o'clock in the morning and cried into my pillow so hard I thought my heart would stop. But I kept quiet. Because love means swallowing your pride, doesn't it? The wedding date was locked in. Saturday, September 14, 2024. I had the sage green dress hanging in the spare bedroom, pressed and ready. I had my fascinator ordered from Etsy, ivory with tiny fabric flowers in the exact shade. I had my speech written on index cards and practiced in front of the mirror until I could say it without crying. I had booked the bridal suite at the vineyard for 2 nights so I could help with any last minute emergencies. I was counting the days like a teenager waiting for prom. Then came Wednesday, September 4, 2024. I was in the backyard deadheading the flowers, humming along to Reba McEntire on the little Bluetooth speaker, when my phone rang at 6:47 p.m. Daniel's name. I answered with a smile so big it hurt my cheeks. Hey, honey, only 10 more days, you nervous yet? Long silence, then Chloe's voice, smooth, sweet, practiced. Oh, Auntie Rose, did Daniel mention it? We actually got married last Saturday. It was only immediate family and our very closest friends. 20 people total. So intimate, so perfect. We posted a few photos on Instagram if you want to see. Hashtag Thompson forever. I don't remember dropping the phone. I don't remember sitting down hard on the porch step. I only remember the way the sky turned from pink to gray, and the way my chest felt like someone had reached in and squeezed my heart until it burst. I opened Instagram with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. There they were, my son in a navy tux with a white rose boutonniere. Chloe in the $24,000 Lazaro gown I had paid for, veil trailing 10 feet behind her in the grass. Smiling under an arch dripping with white roses and eucalyptus I had paid for. 21 photos. Her parents, his two college best friends, her sorority sisters, not one single picture of me. The caption on the first post? Surprise, we couldn't wait any longer. Only the most special people in our lives. Intimate ceremony, family first, Thompson forever. I scrolled until I found the one that finished me off. A candid of Chloe hugging her mom with the caption, grateful for the best mother-in-law in the world who made our dream day possible. I threw up in the petunias. Daniel called the next morning at 8:12 a.m. I was still in my robe, sitting at the kitchen table staring at the sage green dress hanging on the pantry door like a ghost. Mom, please don't be dramatic, he started, voice already tired. It was Chloe's anxiety. She couldn't handle 200 people staring at her. We're still doing the big reception next summer. You'll be guest of honor, I swear on everything. There was no reception next summer. Instead, the money requests kept coming like nothing had happened. September 20, 2024, $5,200 for newlywed furniture refresh at Restoration Hardware. October 3, $8,900 for Chloe's egg freezing consultations and first cycle. October 18, $11,000 deposit on a 4-bedroom house in Naperville for when the grandbabies come. November 1, $4,300 anniversary weekend at the Four Seasons in Chicago, because we deserve it after everything. Every single time I tried to say no, Chloe would get on the phone and cry those practice tears. But you promised you'd always support our family, Auntie Rose. You're the only real parent we have. By December 2024, the Spiral Notebook total sat at exactly $127,481.62. Then came the diagnosis. December 12, 2024. Routine mammogram at the little clinic in town. The technician's face changed the second the images came up. Biopsy on the 16th. Results on the 19th. Stage 1B invasive ductal carcinoma. Lumpectomy scheduled for January 8, 2025, followed by 6 weeks of daily radiation. I called Daniel from the parking lot, sobbing so hard I could barely get the words out. Baby, I'm scared they found cancer. I'm going to need help after surgery. Can you come home for a few weeks? His reply came through the car speakers like a slap in the face. Mom, we're in Aspen. Chloe surprised me for Christmas. Everything's non-refundable. I can't cancel. 2 days later, Chloe posted a 12-photo carousel on Instagram. Them in matching white ski suits, champagne flutes in front of a private chalet, the caption, Baby Moon before baby Thompson arrives. So grateful to the most generous mother-in-law on earth for making all our dreams come true. I stared at that post until my eyes burned and something inside me snapped clean in two. That was the moment I stopped answering their calls. That was the moment I blocked both numbers. That was the moment I changed every lock on the house and canceled every single auto payment. Then the war began. First came the tears, then the guilt-trip texts from burner numbers, then the threats. January 3, 2025, Chloe emailed me a 2,000-word letter titled, "Why You're Abandoning Your Family." January 7, Daniel showed up on my porch at 11 p.m., pounding on the door, drunk, screaming that I was killing his future children. January 12, they filed for emergency adult guardianship in Dane County Circuit Court, claiming I had rapid onset dementia and financial self-harm tendencies. They wanted full control of my house, my remaining savings, my social security, my everything. The hearing was set for February 27, 2025. I wore the sage green dress to court, with the tag still on. I walked into Branch 7 of the Dane County Courthouse at 9:03 a.m. on a Thursday morning that smelled like snow and despair. My hair was freshly set at the salon on Main Street the day before. My chin was high. I carried a 3-inch black binder labeled Evidence Rose Ann Thompson versus Daniel and Chloe Thompson. Daniel sat at the petitioner's table in a $3,200 Armani suit I had paid for. Chloe sat beside him in a cream blazer dress, scrolling TikTok with acrylic nails that cost $180 a fill. Judge Margaret Olson entered at 9:15. Late 50s, steel gray bob, eyes that had seen every kind of ugly the world can throw at a woman. She didn't waste a second. "Mr. Thompson, please explain to the court why you believe your mother is incapable of managing her own affairs." Daniel stood, voice cracking with rehearsed concern. "Your Honor, my mother has been making increasingly erratic financial decisions for the past 4 years. She has transferred over $127,000 to my wife and me, money she now claims was coerced. She lives alone, forgets to eat, leaves the stove on, talks to herself in the garden. We are terrified she will harm herself or fall victim to scams. We only want to protect her." The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Thompson?" I stood. The sage green silk rustled like dry leaves. "Your Honor, I am 68 years old. I am a registered voter. I drive myself to the grocery store. I balance my own checkbook, and I can still beat half the ladies at bingo on Friday nights. The only thing wrong with my mind is that it finally started working for me instead of against me." I opened the binder. Inside were 312 pages, bank statements, Venmo receipts, Zelle confirmations, screenshots of every text, every email, every Instagram post. A 42-page timeline printed in 12-point calibri, double-spaced, with headings in bold. Total, $127,481.62 itemized to the penny. I walked forward and placed it on the bench like I was laying down a royal flush. The courtroom was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Judge Olson read for 21 straight minutes. Then she looked up. "Mr. Thompson, do you recognize these transactions?" Daniel swallowed hard. "Some were gifts, Your Honor, voluntary." The judge raised one eyebrow so high it nearly touched her hairline. "Gifts, $127,000 in gifts, while your mother refinanced her fully paid home, sold family heirlooms, and worked night shifts at age 67? She turned to Chloe. "Mrs. Thompson, did you believe these were gifts with no expectation of attendance at your wedding?" Chloe opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The judge didn't wait. Petition denied with prejudice. Costs and attorney fees awarded to Mrs. Rose Ann Thompson in the amount of $11,200. I am also granting a 5-year no-contact order against both petitioners. Any further attempts at contact will be treated as elder abuse and prosecuted to the fullest extent of Wisconsin law. Then she looked straight at me, and her voice softened just a little. "Mrs. Thompson, you are free to go home and live the rest of your beautiful life in peace." I walked out of that courthouse with the tag still swinging from my zipper, and for the first time in 4 years I felt the sun on my face without wanting to hide from it. The courthouse doors closed behind me at 11, 8:47 a.m. on February 27, 2025. I stood on the top granite step, sage green dress fluttering in the cold Wisconsin wind, tags flapping like little white flags, and I did something I hadn't done in years. I laughed, out loud. So hard my ribs hurt and tears ran down my cheeks, but this time they were happy tears. Because for the first time since 2021, nobody owned me anymore. I drove home with the windows down and Rebamic tires. I'm a survivor, blasting so loud the mailboxes shook. When I pulled into my driveway, I left the dress on, walked straight to the backyard, grabbed a shovel, and started digging. I planted the first rose bush that same afternoon, a deep burgundy hybrid tea I named Freedom. By the end of March, the backyard looked like a battlefield of hope. 60 new rose bushes, every one of them paid for with the money I was no longer sending to Chicago. In April, I did the one thing Daniel and Chloe never knew about. I opened the safety deposit box at the credit union that hadn't been touched since my mother died in 2009. Inside was the Victorian garnet and diamond brooch my great-grandmother Ingrid carried across the Atlantic in 1887, sewn into the hem of her petticoat so the customs men wouldn't steal it. I took it to the appraiser in Milwaukee. He actually dropped his loop when he saw it. Final sale at Sotheby's, New York, $78,400 after commission, wired to my account on May 14, 2025. That night, I called my 3 oldest friends on a group FaceTime. Marjorie, widowed at 55 when her husband dropped dead of a heart attack in the deer stand. Vivienne, divorced at 62 after 38 years when her husband ran off with the dental hygienist. Dottie, 83 years young, whose only daughter told her, "Mom, we don't have room for you at Christmas anymore." I said, "Ladies, how do you feel about spending the rest of our lives drinking wine under olive trees in Italy?" 3 days later, we were on a Zoom call with an Italian real estate agent named Luca who spoke perfect English and laughed like church bells. We found her in May, a crumbling stone villa outside San Cassiano in Val di Pesa, Tuscany. 7 bedrooms, lemon grove, infinity pool that hadn't held water since 1982, 10 acres of wild Sangiovese vines, and a terrace big enough to dance on till sunrise. List price, €680,000. We offered €620,000 cash, closing in 30 days. They accepted before the sun came up the next morning. We named her La Casa del Rose, the House of Roses. We moved in on June 21, 2025, the summer solstice. The first morning, I woke up to real Italian church bells and the smell of espresso drifting up the stone stairs. Marjorie was already in the kitchen wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook, she paid cash." Vivienne was on the terrace doing sunrise yoga in a bathing suit and a sun hat. Dottie was in the garden with a glass of Prosecco at 8 a.m., telling the olive trees her life story. We cried happy tears until our mascara ran black down our cheeks and we looked like raccoons. Every September, on the weekend that would have been Daniel's big reception, we throw the party of the century. We send paper invitations, real ones, with wax seals and ribbon, to every woman we know who has ever been pushed aside, used up, or forgotten by the people she loved most. Last year, 64 women flew in from 12 countries. We wear sage green dresses under strings of fairy lights. We eat homemade pasta until our stomachs ache. We drink Chianti until we can't remember the names of the people who hurt us. We dance barefoot on the terrace until the moon goes pale. And that sage green dress, the one with the tags that survived cancer, courtroom, heartbreak, and a transatlantic flight? I wore it to our first September party in 2025. I danced with 83-year-old Dottie under the Tuscan stars until the zipper finally gave way and the tags tore off and fluttered down onto the terracotta tiles like green confetti. I left them there. Someone told me later the wind carried them into the olive grove, and now every spring tiny green wildflowers grow exactly where they landed. So if you're watching this tonight with an aching heart because the child you poured your entire soul into turned their back the minute they didn't need you anymore. If you've ever sat alone in the dark staring at wedding photos you were never in, if you've ever paid for love with money, with time, with pieces of yourself, and received nothing but silence in return. Close your eyes for just a second and hear Auntie Rose whispering across the oceans and the years. You did nothing wrong. Your love was never the problem. The only thing you're guilty of is loving with your whole heart in a world that sometimes forgets how to love back. You are worthy of every good thing, exactly as you are, right this minute, no dress size, no bank account, no invitation required. And you, my darling girl watching this with tears on your cheeks right now, yes, you. The one who's been crying since the phone call part, you who feels invisible tonight, you are one of my roses now. You are seen, you are loved, you are family. And this garden is big enough for every single one of us. If this story touched your heart the way I pray it did, please hit that like button so more women can find it when they need it most. Comment, I'm a rose too, down below so I know you're here with me tonight. And subscribe, darlin'. Turn on that little bell because every single day at 7 p.m. EST, I'll be right here with a brand new true story, turning pain into power, one bloom at a time. Until tomorrow, keep blooming no matter what season you're in. I love you endlessly. Auntie Rose.